You know, I've always been intrigued by the power of stories to rationalize our behaviors. Like the stories we've been telling ourselves about human superiority over nature that has led us to this devastating world of climate change and biodiversity loss. In 2019, I spent a month across the Galapagos Islands, and as cliche as it might sound, it was there where I first started to realize that the way we tell stories has a real implications for how we coexist with nature. And while it's not as if all the stories on the Galapagos have happy endings, it's clear that non-human individuals are the main characters. Like Lonesome George, a Galapagos tortoise, whose story is one of dying the last of his kind. And seeing him there in that museum again, it's confronting for me to realize that if we hadn't exploited his species and their habitats, I could be standing here today telling you the story of Grandpa George instead. I learnt a lot from that story, and as I roamed those bustling landscapes, I started to wonder why in Melbourne and so many parts of the world, so many of us seem satisfied with forgetting that nature even matters. In most of the stories we tell, humans are the main characters, and nature, if it's mentioned at all, is often an afterthought. Our stories help rationalize replacing their homes with ours. This dilemma confronted me, and I wanted to learn more. And so, after deciding that degrees in commerce and law weren't enough, I went back to study and began a master's in creative writing to learn more about centralizing nature in stories. I wrote from nature and to nature, from horses to tables, written with a desire to empathize with their points of view. It's an insightful artistic practice thinking through the perspectives of objects and animals. In writing about horses, I learned of the violence that we rationalize against them as part of the racehorsing industry and the Melbourne Cup. In writing about tables, I learned of the trees who were killed to make them. These uncomfortable insights have really changed the way that I think about nature and how I treat nature. But it's one thing to introspectively transform, and another to inspire transformation in others. Having no idea how to do this, I joined the Wattle Fellowship, which introduced me to a wonderful community of fellows and mentors committed to bringing about change on a broader scale. I was inspired to think big, to build a community of my own. And so, with the help of the Wattle Fellowship, I launched Nature Human Dialogues, an online interactive exhibition of stories and poems written from specific objects, plants, and animals across the University of Melbourne's Parkville campus. I saw the exhibition as a space for engaging with nature. And so, along with including the physical locations of each of the stories, I developed a space for visitors to send messages back to those objects and their authors. And I invite you to send a message of your own using the QR code on the side there. Try it and see how it feels, because really there's so much we can learn from diverse perspectives. Like the way that Tim Loveday describes the South Lawn as holding the memories of social protests, or the way Alicia Brown feels about this eucalyptus scoparia tree who yearns to connect with all who gather under its shade. In the coming months, thanks in large part to the Wattle Fellowship, I'll be collating the exhibition into a physical anthology. I'll be developing workshops to help further engage more people with thinking through nature's perspectives. And I'm excited to curate new exhibitions in more communities around Australia and maybe the world. Stories have such a huge power over our behaviors, and there is great power in choosing our main characters. And if we tell more of the stories of those we neglect and ignore, if we take the time to think about the world from their perspectives, then our capacity to change the way we treat them can bring about a better world for all of us, where everyone and everything matters. Thank you.